Yeah, hi there. These comments, let me look at your ID that you wrote down here. Okay, 8412. Got it. Or I'll just say LW. I just read your multi-draft writing project number 1 for spring quarter. This is Michael. I am your English 106 instructor. I'm also the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all the materials in the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. So part 1, I think, looks pretty good. So you talk about the purpose of book reviews. In paragraph 2, you talk about your audience. I think that's appropriate given the assignment. And then in your third paragraph in part 1, you talk about your purpose of what you want to do in the book review, and you also say what you will include. So you have a short summary, aim points, the author's credibility, my opinion, and how this relates to today's society. Okay, you can do that. Be careful about the summary part of it. Okay, let's take a look at your book review. So paragraph 1, I'm looking for your thesis. See if I can find it here. So you say this book belongs, I would say belongs to, not in, belongs to the sports genre, obviously because it's about one of the most famous baseball players and his. Now, can you say use of steroids, or should you say alleged use of steroids? Interesting. Now, if you say alleged, it means it hasn't been proven yet. If you say his use of steroids, it has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. So sometimes you have to be careful about, but I think most people will agree that he did. I mean, I know he did. I believe that he did. So I guess I'm kind of like you in that sense. I would probably also say his use of steroids. Okay, in your final sentence of your first paragraph, you say this was written by Jeff Perlman, who is very qualified to write this book because he was a former senior writer for Sports Illustrated. All right. The only problem is, based on the thesis, then the only thing you're going to write about is why the writer is qualified to write the book, but I have a sneaking suspicion you'll probably do more than that. You did. For example, paragraph 4, you talk about how the book is relevant to our society. So you probably need a little bit more sharply focused thesis in the beginning of the book review, around which you can organize the key points of those body paragraphs. Okay, your second paragraph, let's take a look at your topic sentences. You say Perlman wrote this book to show people how big of a problem steroids are in today's society. Okay, so it looks like paragraph 2, you're more explaining, I guess, a little bit about what the writer's trying to do, but you're not really putting any evaluation. I'd like you to put more evaluation in part 2, not just explanations of what the writer's trying to do. The question is, what is the writer's purpose? You can state that, but more importantly, is the writer effective in accomplishing that purpose? That's even the bigger question. Let's go to paragraph 3. You said in the beginning of the book, Perlman says he wants to be as fair to Bonds as possible because he knows many people judge him without knowing much about his life. Now, instead of stating this as a fact, which doesn't do well in terms of creating an argumentative tone for that paragraph, what if you say this? Perlman is fair or unfair in terms of how he presents his information about bonds. That way you have more of an argument. Now you have to explain why you think the writer is fair or why you think the writer is unfair. And that gives you more of a critical evaluation of the book, as opposed to just explaining what the book is about. You say he got many opinions and facts. You say, furthermore, I believe the main point of the book was to get Barry's life from all different people. Now, if the beginning of this paragraph is about how Perlman is saying, or Perlman wants to be fair, I would not discuss the main point there. Keep focusing on whether or not you think the writer is fair in presenting his information about Barry Bonds. So I think you could have a little bit better paragraph unity in paragraph 3, and you need a better topic sentence there that creates more of an argument, not just a fact. Okay, your paragraph 4, you say, Perlman's book is relevant in today's society because many athletes of all sports are still using steroids to get an unfair advantage over competitors who are training their hardest without them. That's a good topic sentence. Why is that? Compare your topic sentence in paragraph 4 with paragraph 3 and also paragraph 2. I think paragraph 4 has the best topic sentence of all of them so far. Why? Because it creates more of an argument, and you end up evaluating what's happening. Now, I would say you're saying that his book is relevant, and then you talk about Lance Armstrong, it looks like the rest of the paragraph, but then at the very end of the paragraph you do talk about Bonds. Just make sure if you are talking about how his book is relevant, I would spend about 50% of the time talking about what is in the book, or the important parts of the book, and then how these points are relevant to, for example, Lance Armstrong and other ideas. Your 5th paragraph, you say, I definitely enjoyed reading this book and getting a deeper look into Barry's life from a child to a superstar and finally to a villain. Okay, let's take a look at your assignment now. We got to look at it on several levels. So do you meet the expectations of the assignment? I'm going to say yes and no. I think part 1 and part 3 are pretty good. I think you've met the requirements there satisfactorily, LW. Part 2, I think you could do a little bit better job with that. And my expectation as a reader is anytime you're using information from the book, you want to use in-text citations, even when you summarize or paraphrase. And of course, when you're directly quoting information, you want to use in-text citations in those body paragraphs. And of course, you need a works cited section at the end. So I think you're having some trouble dealing with sources, outside information. You're not sure how to address the information from the book. So I've noticed that you really steered away from including any quotes at all. I was surprised you didn't do any of those. So you're avoiding, I think, some of the very things that you need to demonstrate if you want to demonstrate that you're part of the legitimate community of academic discourse writing, because in this type of community we do quote. I mean, we do it for different reasons, right? We also use in-text citations when we paraphrase or summarize, and you're not doing any of that. So this paper is not fitting very well within the expectations of a college-level paper. Your organization, like I said before, you need a more sharply focused thesis, I think, in the book review. And even before you get to part 1 of your assignment, you should include a paragraph. I mean, this is one of the things that we asked in the self-assessment workshop was, do you have a thesis that unifies the 3 different parts of the assignment? In your self-assessment here, you wrote 2 sentences. You say, I need to state the main points and the message the authors. You have state me opinion on whether you liked it or not. To me, this isn't going to help you at all. It didn't help you at all. So you have to do a little bit better job, I think, in the initial stages of the workshop. You really need to dig deeper and look at what you're doing at those stages, and that's going to help you do much better on down the line, because there's a lot of problems that this paper has right now. You should have fleshed out all of these things in the workshops, which that didn't happen, unfortunately. So I think there's a lot of improvements on many levels that you could improve with this particular paper. Based on my comments, I'll put you in the adequate range. I'll give you 70% out of 100. And you got two choices. A, you can rewrite the paper taking some of my suggestions, or B, do nothing and keep the grade you have. Now, if you do want to rewrite the paper, you have 7 days from the day you get the paper, and when you turn in the rewrite, you want to make sure you include this draft so I can see what the original draft was, and then you want to include a page that tells me what kinds of changes you made in the essay and why. So, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I think that your process broke down maybe in the initial stages of putting together your paper. Maybe you tried to put things together at the very last minute and it didn't work. So what you have to do, LW, is kind of think about how you put this thing together. What did you do? What is your process? How did you do all of this? And my recommendations is don't follow that process again. Try out something new. Try some new techniques, some new ideas, and maybe you can get this essay going in the right direction. All right, so again, your score here is 70% out of 100.